Hello there, this is Pammy Joe. I'm going to talk to you about our times on earth. I'm Pammy Joe, and I help souls heal, and I also identify spiritual beings by eternal human souls or earth angels. Revelation 14, God discusses our era on earth. The Lamb and the 144,000. I looked, and this is what I saw. The Lamb stood firmly established on the mountain of God, and with him 144,000 who had his name written on, inscribed on their foreheads. I heard a voice from heaven like the sound of waters and rumbling of mighty thunder. The voice that I heard, which seemed like music, was like the sound of harpists playing on their harps, and they sang a new song before the throne of God and before the four living creatures and elders. And no one could learn the song except the 144,000. These are the ones who have not been defiled by relations with women. And that, God has explained to me, adultery, idolatry in Babylon, worshiping everything but God. So they have pure hearts, and they have decided that God is it, and they're following him no matter what. If you're watching my video here, unless you're conspiring, but if you're moved, you're one of them. Otherwise, you would not have been drawn here. I want to explain what they are, and I am one of them. There are people who have lived here for however long, and they've seen the options. It doesn't matter if you're eternal angels or earth angels or earth humans with an eternal soul. You've seen that the dark side and the negativity and the distractions of this world don't fulfill your desires. You know that there's something more to it than that. And even if you're not sure what that is, you're drawn to it. So here's an opportunity to ask God privately and ask for signs to find out if you're willing to stand with God's Son and to stand with me and others for righteousness. And what is righteousness? Righteousness is love and light. If your motives toward others are not love, it means there's something inside of you that needs healed, and God's happy to do that. And I'm happy to refer you places to get help with that for your soul. Right now, come as you are. Redemption has already been given as a gift. You do not have to go out and get it. It comes to you. God's taken care of that. He's taken care of the fallen man. And if you're a person with gifts that people don't understand, who've made fun of you and you felt like you don't belong, and yet people come to you for help all the time with not always a lot of thanks, that's okay. You're a messenger. You're here to help. You're already eternal, and you can't fall, at least not all the way, because you would have originally when the fallen ones happened. But those who stayed with God are loyal to God. They know what he is, and they want to be with him. But there's some things that have had to happen. There was an angel flying in midair with an eternal gospel to preach to the inhabitants of the earth, to every nation, tribe, and language and people. Fear God with awe and reverence, and give him glory, honor, and praise, because the hour of his judgment has come. With all your heart, worship him who created the heaven and the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. So why do that? Well, I've tried rebelling from God, and I keep coming back to him. And I want to give you a testimony as to why. When I was 21 or 2, I was told that I had the gift of prophecy. And what happened is, it's in plain English, not in some tongue. I would tell people things about themselves for that period of time. And then I also predicted a birth where birth had not been possible. Well, it didn't happen to the person I told, so I thought I was a fraud, and I couldn't think of anything worse being a fraud. So some other hardships came, and I walked away from God. Well, 20 years later, I lost my career. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was feeling worthless. And I crawled my butt over to a local church and I asked for prayer. And God began to help me then. And he helped and he helped and he helped. But when I got to a certain point, he pulled me out of that church because he said, your prayer closet is alone with me and your language is English. So I began to talk to him in my journal just to vent, and suddenly he answered. He used a different indentation at first, and then we got to the point where one of us prints and the other one cursives, writes out. And he began talking and talking and talking to me, and I have a bookcase full of journals during that 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years. Then I kind of went back to work. I had lost a job is why I got to that point of desperation for God. And I went back to work, and I still talked to him, but I didn't really get into it. And then something happened this year, and things started going wrong for me, and those things pushed me to him. And I realized those hardships sometimes happen to teach lessons and to push you to be desperate enough to call on God. Well, it didn't take a lot, because he came 20 years ago, when I screamed for him, when I couldn't get anyone else to help me. And he landed on top of me, inside me, and he started spouting to me with my own mouth. I basically lost control of my body. Obviously, I was willing. It felt so good to have God talking through my body. It was all of that anxiety, anger, feeling alone, feeling like you don't belong, all of that stuff left. And this peace came down over me that I've never experienced except in his presence, in his beautiful presence. But he promised some things and he said some things, and then they sort of didn't happen right away. So I went back to work for a while, and suddenly this spring, holy mollies, these things started happening. And I would go back in these journals that he wrote 20 years ago, and to the day they applied to what was happening this year. And I didn't understand what he said before, but when I read it this time, I did. I almost destroyed and threw those out. He just barely prevented it. They were a godsend, a God save for me to understand what's happening now. He's gone out directly to souls. He hasn't bypassed churches, but he's, in addition to churches, people who are not even sure that they believe in him. And he's given them signs, personal signs, things that they can relate to individually. Because each person, each eternal being, whichever type, is unique. And there's a piece of God that's uniquely interested in hanging out with you for eternity. This piece of God knows all your desires, knows everything you want, knows what it would take to fulfill you, and wants to help you do that. Ask only for trust. If you want to be chosen and you want to take a stand against dark things like lying to the voters and enslaving children and torturing them and sucking us dry of energy and hope with negativity, if you want to do that, ask God and trust him. Just ask. That's all you have to do. I went to a summit where I had laryngitis last weekend, and I wanted some things, and I couldn't say them. Guess what? God handed them to me. He's amazing. There's nothing to compare to God. And I hope that you will seek him, and if you know him, find him. Find him. All right. That's all for today. Revelation 14, if you want to read that, I urge you to not be one who allows some a-hole to put the mark of the beast on you, because you don't have to go there. And God's going to clean up earth, and he's going to make it hopeful, and he's going to fill it with love. And I think you want to be a part of that. So please be willing to shine your light and trust God. Ask him if you're not sure. He'll show you personally. He will take the time to personally interact with you. All right. That's all for today. Thank you. Bye-bye.